Hey guys, Hammer Tamer here. Welcome back to another video. And I want to preface this by saying you guys absolutely killed the last philosophy video over Friedrich Nietzsche. I enjoyed making it. I enjoyed learning about his teachings and everything. And apparently you guys enjoyed watching it. As of right now, it has almost 600 views, last I checked. And that's more than any long video I've made. I don't know what you call them, not YouTube Shorts. Those had more views, but YouTube Longs, I guess. That's the most views I've gotten on any. Almost 20 likes. So you guys clearly enjoyed it. There's some good comments. Y'all left some pretty good criticism, which I appreciate and I'm definitely taking to heart. A lot of people complained about my smoke detector going off, which I didn't even realize would show up in the background of the video until I was editing it. I was like, God dang, this is so unprofessional, but don't worry, it's fixed now. But yeah, enough with the intro. I want to keep you guys listening to me yap for too long, even though you're kind of here to listen to me yap. Today, we're here to research and discuss and learn about stoicism. Good old Greek stoics like Aristotle, Plato. I honestly don't know too many of them by name, but going back to the basics, this is the only one I've researched in the past before getting into all this, starting this YouTube series. A couple years ago when I was a freshman in high school, I wasn't in the best place mentally, but learned a whole lot about stoicism and I feel like that kind of helped, and I found it pretty interesting. And there's an Amazon delivery guy at my door. I thought he was going to ring the doorbell and interrupt the video. Anyways, yeah, let's get right into this. Researching stoicism, going back to where I started. Kill your negative thinking. Marcus Aurelius Stoicism. Sounds kind of violent. Hold on, what does Joe Rogan have to say? I hope I don't get none of those cringe alpha sigma male. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Reading Marcus Aurelius's Meditations.
Wow, you're talking about
that's hot.
one of the great
This guy was
books of all
2,000
time.
years ago.
And he was the most powerful man in the world.
And he was so brilliant. His philosophy on things, like about forgiving people, like so unexpected. Like
Yes.
so much of what he was saying.
Well, we're still talking about it.
Yeah.
All this time.
Still
it's
relates
still
to
such
today.
a relevant book.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good. And
Brilliant.
I listened to it in the sauna. It's really intense because you're thinking, these are the writings, the direct writing.
You listen to it in the sauna. Alright, first off, I want to know what these audiobooks sound like, because I hear Stoicism audiobook, my mind instantly goes to those alpha, sigma male, motivational, whatever. That's what my mind goes to. I just imagine that reading like the whole book. But like, just imagine you're chilling in the sauna, sweating your booty cheeks off, then you're just hearing like Marcus Aurelius tell you like, oh, blah, 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 whatever.
Writings that we have from a guy who lived 2,000 years ago and was running Rome.
That's insane.
It's
More
really,
than 2,000 years ago,
cool.
wasn't it? I think he was.
it was close. It's
Yeah.
in the neighborhood.
But, you know, he's talking about a
That's about right. Like 2,100 years ago.
man who was the most
What year
powerful
was
man in the
Meditations
world
written?
and was preaching
The most powerful, probably the smartest man, right?
But it's so applicable to the way you think and so like beneficial if you can adopt a lot of his thought process. I've been reading Marcus.
Speak it, Joe Rogan.
12 bad habits all Stoics should avoid. 1. Don't be overheard complaining, even to yourself. 2. Don't put on airs about your self-improvement. 3. Don't...
The second one is, where was it? This one is very prevalent in modern day with all the, what's it called? With all these self-improvement YouTubers always yapping about, self-improvement and do this and meditate and, like, bro, you're, like, dang, my words are not with me today. Everyone's just all about self-improvement these days, but don't seem to realize that it's all about not bragging about it and over talking about it and stuff. This guy was really ahead of his time. He was like 2,000 years ahead, or whenever Epictetus was around.
Don't put on airs about your self-improvement. 3. Don't overindulge in eating or drinking. 4. Don't speak more than you listen. 5.
That's real.
Don't avoid difficulty. 6. Don't tie your identity to the clothes you wear, things you own. 7. Don't conceal what you truly believe.
Yeah, don't tie your identity to the clothes you wear and the things you own. Tie it to gambling. Let's go gambling and spin those slot machines, am I right?
7. Don't conceal what you truly believe. 8. Don't go along just to get along. 9. Don't put off to tomorrow what can be finished today. 10. Don't shun people you disagree with. 11. Don't sleep the day away. 12. Don't neglect your friendships. 12.
Bro really said don't be too eepy. That's my boy Aperture. I love this guy.
In the city of Cyprus in 300 BC, there lived a very wealthy trader called Zeno.
The guy from Dragon Ball? Or the guy from Hunter x Hunter?
While on a voyage from Phoenicia to Piraeus...
Wait, those characters are made by a Japanese guy. So, like, why is a guy with a name that's... Hold on. This guy was in Greece, right? Yeah, in Cyprus. His name's Zeno. But in Japan, close to the modern day, obviously, they have fictional characters named Zeno. So, like, which is it? Is it a Greek name or a
very
Japanese
wealthy
name?
trader called Zeno. While on a voyage from Phoenicia to Piraeus, his boat sank, along with all of his cargo. Because of that single event, an event that was entirely out of Zeno's or anyone's control, this very wealthy man suddenly became poor in an instant.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe don't go sailing when there's a storm.
Imagine
Just
you were
that.
Zeno. How would you react to your entire life's work getting flushed down the drain by the sheer force of nature?
That kind of sucked, to be honest.
What is the proper reaction? Would you be angry, sad? Would you feel life has cheated you? For most of us, these would all be normal
I'd beat up the nearest homeless person with a hammer.
reactions. But not for Zeno, the father of stoicism. One small change lasts an eternity, and one small reframing of your mindset can cascade into larger and more impactful changes later down the line. The core of stoicism is the very definition of acceptance and indifference. After reading the works of Socrates and other great philosophers, Zeno created and taught stoicism.
I thought Socrates was a Stoic, so how's this guy the father of it if he studied other people that are alleged Stoics?
According to Zeno, although we don't have much control over what happens to us, we do have control of how it affects us, and we must use this control to great effect. Rather than crying over spilled milk, or in this case, drowned goods, Zeno focused on maintaining his composure over the situation, remaining calm and neutral, despite his predicament. Today, people inadvertently view Stoics as people who cannot be broken, people who don't often linger to the emotional extremes, going through things like fits of rage or bouts of anxiety. But the original idea behind Stoicism was much more than that. Stoicism allows us to process these negative emotions from negative experiences, and turn them into the thoughts that give us a unique perspective of the world. Perspective is everything, and everyone in the world has different experiences and thus different perspectives on things.
From my perspective,
Since the Stoics gathered, discussed, and taught philosophy in a public place, their general philosophy was widely known. They believed that the Stoic principles could greatly benefit anyone and everyone, and so it didn't make sense for them to hide that knowledge behind the four walls of a school or of the palace courtyards. As a result, everyone from slave to emperor could learn and become a Stoic. And they did. Some of the world's most notable Stoics include...
That's pretty cool, though, that they just, like, taught everyone. Like, they didn't discriminate. This is in, like, 300 BC, mind you, I believe he said. Which is, like, 2,300 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, if I'm not mistaken. It was 2,300 years ago. Oh, God. This is 2,300 years ago, and they didn't discriminate. They taught Stoicism to the rich, the poor. I guess that makes sense because the father of Stoicism, according to this, Zeno, he went from riches to rags like that. And so he experienced both ends of the spectrum. So I guess that makes sense he would teach it to everyone.
Include Epictetus, which translates to acquired, as he was once owned as a slave, Seneca, who was a well-renowned statesman, and Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and one of the most powerful men to have ever lived. The early Stoics practiced what they preached, avoiding all forms of segregation and leading the fight against inequality. They even invented the word cosmopolitan, literally means citizen of the world. When people hear that word now, we think of cities like New York, Toronto, Dubai, and London because of how diverse they are. This was the type of unity and togetherness that the Stoics preached. In a world full of unexpected turns of events, our emotions can tend to get in the way of things. In reality, we don't really get sad because bad things happen to us, we get sad because unexpected bad things happen to us. Rain is a good thing. It helps to water our plants, provides water for livestock, and keeps the temperature cool and humid. But the truth is, when that dark cloud catches you outside without an umbrella, it's never a good experience. So why don't we start crying once it starts to rain? It's because although the situation is bad, we've learned to expect rain. It's something that is unavoidable. We can't control the weather. Although it sucks, the rain passes and the light returns. Stoicism teaches us that in the same way, we should expect that everything bad that can happen will happen. Picture the worst outcome, and be content knowing it could happen, and potentially thrive if your mindset is right. By being able to withstand these uncomfortable situations, we indirectly
Never back down, never what? I got issues. It's pretty interesting. I mean, we need more modern day philosophers. Like, where's Marcus Aurelius when you need him? It's like that saying, like, good times create weak men create hard times create strong men create good times. I think about that a lot, and it feels like today we're in the middle of the weak men creating hard times, at a point where men are weak, but times are like slowly getting harder. Don't get me wrong, we live in like the best time in human history, but I feel like things could go south very fast and things could go bad. And there's so many like weak people today. If we go to war, who's fighting for our country? Right? We got like TikTok Zoomers throwing it back on TikTok, and that's who we expect to go to war. Like, I don't know, we might be cooked as a country. But rant aside, I completely lost my train of thought. I have no idea how that oh man. Oh yeah, I remember now. This stoicism could really tie into like making people stronger. Like if so many people weren't entitled and oh my god. Alright, I'm back. We live in one of the best times, the best time in human history, but people let that get to them. If we could just like stop complaining about the smallest, dumbest stuff, stop being so entitled to everything, then it'd be crazy what kind of stuff we as people could accomplish. But it's an inevitable cycle, and times are going to get harder, but that's just how it is. It's going to get harder before it gets better.
Prepare our mental for future misfortunes. With the current state of the world, we're
I feel like stoicism could probably help with that, not complaining about everything and just realizing how good we all have it.
Advertisements are constantly being shoved down our throats. We're made to believe that if we don't have the next best thing, look a certain way, or make a certain amount of money, that we will never be happy. This message is more important now than ever. We enter the world not knowing much of anything. We grow up being taught things at home, in school, and by observing the world for ourselves. The thing is, a lot of times, all three of these sources of knowledge teach us in different ways. The question is, do we need to internalize all of this knowledge? If we do, we could unknowingly be setting unrealistic expectations for our lives, leaving us ultimately disappointed and unsatisfied in the end. That's no way to live. We should instead focus on improving ourselves, for ourselves. We should do things for ourselves and only for that reason. Attaching any external hope or secondary attachments to the actions we take almost always lead to disappointment. But even the free things in life come at a cost. The cost of space, both physical and mental. As Seneca once wrote, learning to live with...
I mean, that's honestly a good point, but like, I would entirely agree with it. I'm just trying to like formalize my thoughts into words. Like, I agree you shouldn't let external stuff impact you that much. You should be more focused on internally and becoming at peace with yourself. But at the same time, if you're like homeless, living under a bridge, surviving on a piece of bread every day, like Denji, then like you should try to improve your life, not just be content with where you're at. That's just me personally. I'm always seeking to improve myself and do better. I also don't personally believe that happiness should be like my ultimate goal. Like, I have stuff I feel like is more important than how I feel. Like, I gotta do stuff regardless how I feel about it. I'm at peace with my brain, like with myself, but I don't, like, happiness isn't my end goal. Like, I have good days, I have bad days. Some days I'm good, sometimes I'm not. Yeah, that's just my thought. I think it's a very good teaching, but I don't believe in it 100%.
With less will create space in your life for the things that truly matter to you. Instead, we must place our happiness on our intrinsic value as humans and on nothing we have or can physically acquire. Stoics teach that we must learn to separate what we control from what we cannot control. We need to determine our value not from things we can't control, but from the things we can. Striving towards goals is a good trait, but breaking down when those things don't go your way is, in a Stoic's point of view, useless. Making YouTube videos is, well, a lot easier than being a Roman emperor, but it can still prove to be challenging.
I don't know, man. A lot of these YouTubers be talking about how hard it is to... Oh, snap, you can move the subtitles. A lot of these YouTubers be talking about how hard it is and how it's harder than working a 9 to 5. This definitely harder than a 9 to 5. I have both at the moment, and this is way, way easier. And I enjoy it more, which might be why I find it easier, because I actually want to do this stuff, but it's not hard.
Sometimes. First, you must form your idea, which takes forever. Then research that idea. Scrap it because it sucks. Start over, script the video, create the video, edit it, make the title, thumbnail, and everything else before you hit upload. Everything up.
I mean, I don't know. I don't be doing all that. I just think of something and make a video on it. Or at least that's how the series started, where I react to philosophy. I was just like, hey, this is a good idea. And I mean, I'm a brain-rotted Gen Zer. Why not react to something that would fuel my brain and let the people get my perspective on this? I don't know. I'm just yapping.
Until the point where you click upload is all up to you. However, once you click that upload button, the power shifts to the YouTube algorithm. Still, a lot of people judge the success of their YouTube channel or Instagram account based on how many views and subscribers or followers they have, metrics of which, for the most part, are beyond your control. Stoics teach that instead, you should judge the success of your work based on the amount of effort you put in, and not on the outcome of your external hopes. Trust the process, job. He doesn't consider that the boss might have simply woken up angry, someone else might have been better qualified.
Who just starts boxing while they're wearing a suit and tie? I mean, yeah, what he was saying about social media, I don't entirely do that. I make videos because I enjoy them. I would have quit YouTube a long time ago when my channel didn't instantly blow up if I did it for the views. But like, as a business owner now, I don't want an Instagram or Facebook or anything, but I have one now just for my business, just so it could do good, just so I could get a following and sell stuff. So I mean, he's right. You shouldn't do it with that stuff in mind. And I'm technically not. I'm technically doing it to sell stuff and because I enjoy business as a whole. But yeah, just some extra perspective.
At the time. Or maybe the company was just losing money and couldn't afford it. If he simply placed his value on the quality of the performance report he turned in, kept doing what he was doing to earn the promotion he wanted, he could have been much happier overall. With the right perspective,
so basically just
his
like
goal
enjoy
wouldn't
the
have been
process.
diminished, but just postponed. It's this reframing of your mindset that is crucial.
Okay.
A true Stoic does not view their successes based on the financial gain of their ventures, but is comforted by the fact that they can live a comfortable life without all the things money can buy.
Alright, I get what he's saying. And not trust the process. Enjoy the process and what you're doing. Which I do that. Like, I enjoy making these YouTube videos. I enjoy business. I enjoy working my butt off every day. But I mean, I still have some days where I just don't feel it. And I feel like I could have done better. And I basically disappoint myself. But Stoics are known for like controlling their emotions. So like, I don't know. It's interesting.
These are the four main virtues of Stoicism: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. Wisdom is being able to separate between what is internal and what is external, and the ability to choose our reaction to the things that happen to us. As Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response, there is a space, and that space is our power to choose our response. Courage. 2 words: persist and resist. Temperance, or moderation, is what I just did there, doing more with less, saying more with fewer words. While Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are fighting at the top of the Forbes list, Stoics believe that the limit of wealth should simply be having what is essential, and then having what is enough. Justice is the most important of all the virtues. It instructs that no one should do harm to another because we were all born for each other, to do good to one another, and not to ourselves. Nelson Mandela was one of the
What he said over here, this Stoics believe that the limit of wealth should simply be having what is essential. That reminds me of Friedrich Nietzsche and his whole slave morality thing. Like, this is like directly contrasting what Nietzsche taught in 1900, somewhere around there, where he basically said that, oh, my bad, I bumped the microphone, where Nietzsche said that that believing in stuff like religion, it was specifically like Christianity was started by slaves, and saying like the stuff you have is like good, and preaching what you already have, and saying the stuff you can't do or can't have is bad. It reminds me a lot of this, where, oh, just be content with what you have. You should only have the bare minimum. Like, that kind of sounds depressing if you ask me. Yeah, but Stoicism, that Zeno guy way at the beginning of the video, he started out rich with everything, then lost everything, then started preaching Stoicism. So, I don't know, he probably could have worked his way back to the top, so maybe Stoicism was the right answer in his eyes. I don't know.
and then having what is enough. Justice is the most important of all the virtues. It instructs that no one should do harm to another because we were all born for each other, to do good to one another, and not to ourselves. Nelson Mandela was one of the most famous African leaders in the world. While he was fighting against apartheid, he got sentenced to life imprisonment, where he stayed for 27 years before finally being released. When he was released from prison, he was elected president of South Africa, and thus, many people thought he was going to brutally punish all the people that had anything to do with apartheid or his imprisonment. But of course, he did not. Throughout his time in prison, Mandela read the works of Marcus Aurelius and learned many of the core values of Stoicism, all of which he practiced throughout his life. Instead of calling for the heads of the wrongdoers, Nelson Mandela urged his people to instead seek the opposite, to relax and rebuild.
Now that's a strong leader. That's a strong leader. That says a lot. Like, if you have people persecuting you and you tell everyone, nah, forgive them, that...
He stressed that the past was now beyond their control, and that the only thing they could do was find a way to move forward and build a better nation. This is the way of the Stoic. By redirecting our definition of value to the things that we can control, we can stop getting fixated on the things we cannot control, and overall, we can lead a much happier and more fulfilling life. Stoicism helps us steer through past and present storms into calmer and more peaceful waters. And if our ship sinks and we all drown, we can take peace in the fact that we lived a good life, albeit not as long as we had hoped. Because remember, everything has an end.
Dang. What need is there to weep over parts of life when the whole of it calls for tears? R.I.P. Marcus Aurelius. You would have loved Fortnite. Wait, I referenced Fortnite in the last video. R.I.P. Marcus Aurelius. You would have loved Skibbity Toilet or something like that. I don't know.
Your life is a reflection of your thoughts. If you change your thinking, you change your life. 85% of people struggle with low self-esteem linked to negative self-talk at some point in.
What is this guy's speech impediment?
The philosopher Marcus Aurelius was one of the founding fathers of Stoicism, and he is famous for his book Meditations. The idea of being a great man is kind of nebulous, but there is perhaps no single person in history who has ever been more...
He looks like he would enjoy galaxy gas. Actually, when you think about it, the modern day equivalent of Greek philosophers are unemployed people that smoke weed and play video games all day. Like, that's literally what philosophers did. They didn't have video games, so they just sat around talking, drinking wine. They're just like, bro, you know, we should be treating our fellow man with kindness. And everyone was like, yeah, facts, that's the most important virtue of Stoicism. Nah, but in all seriousness, Stoicism is a pretty cool philosophy. I know I'm making a lot of jokes, and it sounds like I'm arguing with it a lot. I'm just offering my insight. I think that there's a lot that could be learned from Stoicism, and a lot more people should practice it, and it's a great philosophy.
In 80 AD, he was the last of the so-called 5 good emperors and served over a period known as the Pax Romana, or the Roman Peace. In fact, when Marcus Aurelius died, the Pax Romana ended. Aurelius, when he was emperor, was the most powerful man in the world. The Romans basically had no concept of the globe outside of their empire, so as far as he was concerned, Marcus was effectively ruler of the world. But even in those limitless circumstances, Marcus Aurelius chose a life of virtue. He chose to be a good man, and not just in one instant or on one occasion, but every day for all 19 years of his time as emperor. Marcus Aurelius was a fundamentally good man. Being good doesn't make you a great person, but imagine staring down the beast of truly unlimited fantasies and declaring,
Is that Ippo Machina Uchi? Yo, Ippo, what you fighting this whatever the heck right here for?
no, I choose virtue, not for the sake of praise or fame or admiration, but just...
Can this guy beat Goku? I want to see Goku from Dragon Ball have a little chit-chat with, like, Marcus Aurelius or, like, Plato or one of them. Like, I want to see Goku discuss philosophy.
just for the sake of being good. That is impressive. I mean, consider the circumstances, and consider if you were in those circumstances for almost 20 years. Could you consistently, day in and day out, overcome the monster of temptation, knowing that there would be no ramifications whatsoever, no matter what you choose to do? What would you do? How would you act? I know I couldn't follow the example set by Marcus Aurelius, and we know it was a true
This is the same
example
image
because
from earlier,
when
just
no one
flipped.
was looking, that's when Marcus was at his best.
How do you know that if you weren't looking?
Meditations is the title that publishers have prescribed to it. The writings had no title. They were never intended to be read, much less published, by any person at any point other than Marcus himself. They were Marcus Aurelius's deepest confessions and beliefs.
Just like Anne Frank's diary, like, imagine your personal journal. You write your, like, most personal stuff about. It's just like, oh, here, the whole world could read it. Like, that's got to be rough. Maybe not for a stoic like him, but for someone, but like for most people, that'd be pretty tough.
With that in mind, Meditations is immensely revealing as to the character of its writer. Because again, Aurelius wasn't writing this for anyone but himself. But despite this seemingly off-the-cuff nature, Meditations is one of the most powerful and most poignant books ever put to paper.
Hey, it's my boy Alexander the Great! Yeah! Gotta be one of my favorite historical figures. Let's go. And fun fact, he was taught by Aristotle. I wonder how Aristotle's teaching impacted Alexander, because wasn't Aristotle a Stoic? Natural philosophy, so that's basically like science. Ethics. Oh, okay, never mind. I was about to say, I wonder how the teachings of Stoicism impacted Alexander the Great. Because this guy, he basically conquered the entire world by the time he was like 30. He died when he was like 30 years old. So imagine if he lived to be an old man. That'd be pretty interesting. But yeah. Carry on.
Marcus Aurelius believed in living in accordance with nature. By nature, Aurelius was referring to the plants and animals, yes, but also to the natural order of the universe. Trees grow
Human
because that's
nature.
what they're made to do. They grow as big as they can and become as beautiful as they can, not because they want praise or are looking for some external validation. But instead, they grow to be powerful and awe-inspiring because that's what they're made to do. That is the natural order. A caterpillar becomes a butterfly. A frail, featherless chick becomes an eagle. Not
So, live in accordance with nature, your human nature. Isn't it in human nature to basically be a pretty terrible person? Like, it's crazy some of the stuff people thought up to, like, torture and enslave and kill people. Like, isn't that pretty natural for a human being? And yet he's not saying to do that stuff. It's like, where's the boundary? Like, how much do you live in accordance with your nature? Unless he's saying just acknowledge that that part of yourself exists. And he's not saying to actually partake.
not because they want to, but because they are created to. In the same way, Marcus believed that the duty of a human was to fulfill their potential. He did not believe in accumulating things or riches, and we'll talk about that later.
Okay, that makes sense. He thought that what the guy just said, you're supposed to fulfill your potential. That makes sense. All right.
Or being awarded or given accolades. Nature had made you a human, or to be the kindest, most virtuous human that you can possibly be. For Marcus, this is the pinnacle of humanity. After all, you can't control anything else. You can't control what the world throws your way, but you can control how you react. And no matter what happens, a great person weathers the storm and lives up to their fullest, most virtuous potential. That is your duty as a human. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor, so although he may have enjoyed sitting around writing all day, that wasn't his job and he didn't write very much. He had to deal with a lot of things and a lot of people. Above all else, Marcus believed that evil, wicked, or just somehow bad people were simply part of our universe. Asking the world to not present you with these people would be like asking a vine to exist without thorns. Don't be ridiculous. There's simply nothing you can do, Marcus says. Bad people exist, and in your life you will
What the heck are those things?
Marcus believed in kindness, though, and he believed that people didn't ever want to do the wrong thing. Instead, when people did the wrong thing, it was simply out of ignorance.
Yep.
You can try to teach these people, sure, but it's just not always
Facts. I said this in the last video, but facts. Spit your stuff indeed, Marcus Aurelius. Nah, but I'm a pretty strong proprietor that morality is subjective to the person. That's not saying I should be able to go beat people up because it doesn't matter. No, I think that, I can't say his name on YouTube, but Mustache Man from World War II, he thought he was doing the right thing. Clearly he wasn't. I hope we all could agree on that. But everyone has a different idea of what's good and bad. And Marcus Aurelius, I mean, I don't think he has a place to decide that, because, I mean, actually, I'm pretty sure most of us have a good agreement on, like, treat each other with kindness and be, like, good to each other. But he's saying people that are like pieces of garbage are just like ignorant, pretty much. But yeah, I agree with him here. It's a very good point.
always going to be an option. So we can't control if the universe sends us the immoral or the wicked or the lazy, and if we can't also help these people, which usually we can't, we just have to put up with it. And to do this, Marcus says, you should look inward.
Yeah, he's the OG thug it out. He said thug it out way before it was cool.
He writes to himself, hey, Marcus, you've got faults too. Who are you to judge? Maybe you have different faults than these so-called bad people, but Marcus, you have your faults nevertheless. In a different conversation on a different day, perhaps you, Marcus, would be the ignorant one. And Marcus, it's possible that you just don't understand. He told
Very
himself,
true.
hey, you can't even be sure that they are doing the wrong thing.
I like this Marcus
The
Aurelius
thief
guy.
who
He's
steals
pretty
to
cool.
feed his family isn't wrong, you just don't understand. And often in life, you won't understand, and you won't know that you don't understand. So again, don't
Why is this tricep
judge.
so sharp?
Ultimately, Marcus Aurelius
Like right
believed
here,
that
why-
we were all born for each other.
He looks
Over
like
and over,
Zeus,
he reminded
specifically
himself
from
that
Fortnite. This looks like when Zeus was in Fortnite. That's what this reminds me of.
Is the natural order. A tree grows fruit so animals can eat. Animals die so that worms have food. Just like in the natural world, we are all made to help each other. That is, again, our duty. The only true failure in life would be to abdicate this responsibility. So Marcus, you better do it, and you better do it well.
And yet so many people, like, you'd think it sounds easy, just like stay true to your morals, but there's so many people that just don't. Like, they blindly follow other people, they do the wrong thing out of convenience. Like, today I had a friend who told me that at school that he walked by a door to the outside and the football team was like coming in, but the door was locked and he could have opened the door, but he didn't feel like it, so he didn't. Stuff like that, like, just why? Like, just follow your morals, bruh. Like, it sounds easy, but for most people it's not. And I just don't get it. Like Marcus Aurelius said, some people are just misguided, I guess.
We all go through adversity, and Marcus Aurelius was no exception. But just like encountering bad people, Marcus realized that encountering adversity is simply part of the human condition. Again, you can only control what you can control. So don't pray for bad things not to happen.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
There's positively, absolutely nothing you can do about it. But what you can control, Marcus, is you can control how you react to them. You can control if you are ready to meet adversity when it comes, and it will, Marcus says. You know that it will. When that day arrives, don't be sad because something bad happened. Don't feel bad for yourself. Don't mope. Instead, feel fortunate that you have the tools and the spirit to make it through unscathed. Rise above to keep going forward. Marcus Aurelius says when
Cope cells, keep walking. Those of you that took the seed pill, keep walking. True stoic cells only.
All men die, but not all men die complaining.
That's honestly a really solid quote.
But not all men die. Don't disgrace yourself, Marcus, he says. All men die, but not all men die complaining.
Don't disgrace yourself. All men die, but not all men die complaining. That, I don't know why that cuts so deep. That's pretty awesome. That first part, don't disgrace yourself. That reminds me of in Naruto, the 5 Kage Summit. Gaara asks all the Kages, when did you guys forsake yourselves?
Any question you have.
Then, let me ask you this. When did all of you forsake yourselves?
Which, it feels like a lot of people in the pursuit of power lose who they truly are somewhere along the way. Which, that's interesting. Like, does pursuing power and status and doing better cause you to lose yourself and cause you to stop being a stoic? Like, can you not... How did Marcus Aurelius, assuming that's the case, how did he become emperor? Like, was he born into it? Because I feel like if you have that level of power, you lose yourself, a piece of yourself somewhere along the way. Or you might. And yet he was both an emperor and a stoic. So, I don't know. I aspire to be like that, to stay true to who I am when I start going places in life, when my business starts making sales, when I'm more out there. I just hope to never lose sight of who I really am. I haven't even been reading these, to be honest. Meditations on Wealth.
Marcus Aurelius was a man of enormous wealth, but he did not believe this was inherently a problem. Marcus did not vilify material possession like some other philosophers have throughout history, but instead he was cautious with his relationship to the things that he owned.
Very interesting. It's like what Nietzsche was saying in the last video about the slave morality. Like, most philosophers aren't emperors and they vilify wealth. This guy was an emperor and he had it. He was just controlling how he thought about it. Which I think is pretty cool. You don't see that very often.
Marcus Aurelius could have had anything he wanted. Money, houses, art, wine, but he chose not to. Instead, he said, Marcus, don't dream of physical things that you want. These are meaningless. They don't fulfill your potential. Only you can do that. Reflect on what you do have and value these things. Remember how much you would want them if you didn't have them. But be careful, Marcus, he tells himself, not to value them so much that you would be despondent if they just disappeared. They don't matter.
So are these like letters to himself? Like, Dear Marcus. Like, it sounds like he's talking in third person.
Nice, they don't matter.
I was
They don't
talking, got my
improve you
throat
as a
sore.
person. They don't make you more. Marcus Aurelius spent a lot of his time thinking about death, so much so that it would be impossible to make this video without discussing his opinions on the subject. And his views on death were simple. It's coming whether you like it or not. He tells himself time and time again, it's outside of your control, so don't waste your time fearing death or fretting over mortality. Just like nature has assigned us to be good, to help one another, and to reach our fullest potentials, nature has assigned us to die. Death is a duty. So, while you're here, live, be kind, be good, fulfill your role in nature, and then die. Because death is also part of that role. Marcus Aurelius, along with a couple other men, was a forebearer of the philosophy known as Stoicism. The Stoics believed in many things. Their school of thought covers logic, ethics, physics, and a whole lot more. But there is one distinction that lies at the core of the Stoic philosophy. The distinction of pleasure versus happiness. Money, fame, even success were external stimuli that provided fleeting moments of pleasure, but this wasn't happiness. Happiness was not so temporary. The concept of happiness was something more. It was a state of being that came entirely from within. It didn't come from being an emperor like Marcus Aurelius. It didn't come from any worldly things. The Stoics said to achieve happiness, you should live a life of virtue. You should continue to better yourself and become all that you possibly can. The only failure, the only true pain, the only true sadness, the only thing worth fearing is to let yourself down by not achieving your potential. Because and only because being great is your duty. Being great is in your very nature.
Preach, Marcus. Anyways, I have been recording for a while. I think that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching. I truly appreciate every single one of you guys that came to watch this video and the last video. Like, over 600 views on the last one. Not over, but almost 600 views is honestly mind-boggling to me. Like, I'm just a dude. I don't see why so many people would want to see that, but clearly you guys do. So thank you all. I appreciate it very much. But my thoughts on Stoicism. So I mean, it's gotten me through some hard times in the past, so can't hate on it too much. And I don't want to hate on it because, or I won't hate on it because it brings up some very good points. Like I was saying earlier about the strong man, weak times, strong times, blah blah blah. I feel like society could benefit a lot from more people being taught about Stoicism. And like, there's just so much weakness. I feel like if people, not necessarily weakness, that should, pen just fell. That should be comparing this to, but like entitlement and give me this, give me that, more. No one realizes we live in the best time in human history. Albert Einstein didn't have no goddamn computer. Alexander the Great didn't have no goddamn Twitter. Whatever. Like, I am talking to you from my bedroom, and you watching this from like anywhere in the world are listening to me speak, and then you could go in the comments and respond to what I'm saying. Which, like, that's mind-boggling. No, you think Grug 10,000 years ago, hunting and gathering for a living, even imagined something like this? He probably didn't. Whenever the mail system was invented, that was probably like the pinnacle of technology. And when I'm dead and gone, and all of you guys are long gone as well. There's probably technology we can't even comprehend that's going to be coming out. Especially at the rate it's going. Like, the amount of time, I forgot exactly what it was, but we went from like the first ever airplane to the first ever rocket ship in space in like less than 100 years. Which, do you know how crazy that is? Like, before that we were stuck on the ground, and now we're going all the way to space within less than 100 years. But no one realizes that. Everyone's just complaining about this or that, or wanting more and this and that, when I think we should all just like stop and appreciate the things we have. Because when the power goes out, or when your computer gets a virus, or any of this stuff happens, you're just struck and don't know what to do. So people should practice stoicism more. It's so easy nowadays to become great, right? Like, I'm just some teenager sitting in my room constantly. Yeah, I managed to start a business, and it's so easy to do that, but it's also extremely easy to get distracted consuming all this external useless stuff. But yeah, be grateful for what you have, love your fellow human beings, follow your heart and what you believe to be virtuous and what the good stuff is. Don't use what I said earlier about morality being subjective as an excuse to do bad things, because you and I both know that robbing old people's wrong, so don't do it. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I hope you all enjoyed. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and especially for sticking this far. Consider leaving a like if you have. Also consider subscribing if you enjoy this content. More may come out. And I honestly don't know a lot of philosophies or philosophers, so if there's any good ones you guys know that you think I should research, leave a comment down below, and I might do it. Never know. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Peace out.